Hey everybody, it's Gerard at the Refinery, and I just wanted to do a quick video here about a project car that's come in. This is a Porsche 944S, we don't get a lot of cars in this condition coming in, but certainly it's an enthusiast that's picked this one up recently, and it's kind of a toy car for him, so he asked us to see what we can do with it. The interesting thing for us in just going through this process, which is why I wanted to capture some of it on the video, is these two cars technically have the same paint. In the background you can see the 911 there, the 993, looks very, very different than what this one does, and you can kind of see the extent of the oxidation and damage on the 944, and that's what we're going to be trying to fix for the customer. The Guards Red paint on this is single stage paint, so that is a little bit different than working on a color coat, clear coat type of setup, which most modern cars are. But in this vintage, they didn't use clear coat paints. It was just sort of a, they call it single stage because it is one layer of paint that is both the protective layer as well as the color layer, and it's, that's what you've got. The downside effect of having that type of paint system is you get really bad oxidation if you don't maintain it well over its life. So it's beautiful paint when it's polished out and when it's in good condition, but if left to the environment and to every, just to contamination and so on, it starts looking very, very chalky. It almost starts looking pink, and that is a layer of debris and oxidation on that top surface, which in order to kind of restore the paint or bring it back, you have to polish it off. You have to remove that damaged, very, very top surface to expose sort of fresh, intact paint underneath, and then you're going to want to seal that. This customer has chosen to do a ceramic coating, which is sort of the most that you can protect. It has much better longevity than a traditional wax or sealant does, and it also protects very well with UV and chemical resistance, which is another part that single stage paint is susceptible to. So the plan of attack for this car is not only is the paint in generally fairly rough condition, but it gets parked under a tree that mists sap. I've never quite seen a tree do this before the way that this is, but and I'm not even sure what type of tree that is, but it almost looks like someone has taken a can of Coke or something and sprayed it all over the car. It's a very, it's not very, very sticky, like it washes off well, but it just covers the entire car with this, kind of sugar water almost type film over it. So what we're going to be doing first is obviously a very thorough washing of the car. We'll do some chemical decontamination to dissolve any iron deposits that might be on the surface or more metallic deposits. We'll do a clay bar as well to remove anything that is stuck to it. So first you try the chemicals, then you go to a mechanical means of removing little particles that are stuck on the surface that aren't coming off using liquids or even the washing process. And then once all of that is done, we'll get it dried off, and then we'll see what we're looking at with the paint finish. Our expectation is that originally we were hoping, when we were talking to the customer over the phone, we were hoping that it was going to be a very superficial kind of single stage polish. Having seen the car now, I don't think that that's appropriate for the level of damage on the car's surface. So we are almost certainly looking at doing a compounding step first, which is going to remove that dead layer of paint that's on the very top surface, which is going to then, like I said, expose kind of the intact and healthy paint underneath it. And then the second step of the polishing process is going to be that finish polish. And that's going to bring the gloss right up, the reflection right up, and give us that nice pristine surface now that we are going to then protect using a ceramic coating in this case. So we'll try and take some shots and some videos of it during its various stages in the process. This is probably a couple of days work for us to to take it from how it sits today to to when we're finished with it. But it should be a really interesting case study to see how bad paint can get in the first place, and then how good it can come back without having to go to the extent of repainting the car. Because really that would be the next obvious step, would be if you can't save it through paint correction and polishing, then the only way to make it look red and glossy again would be to repaint. So we're going to see if we can kind of avoid that step altogether, keep the cost lower. It obviously doesn't take as long to polish as it does to repaint a car, and we think it'll come out looking really, really great, much better than you see here. And this is a fairly low kilometer vehicle as well, if you can believe it. It's it's got only about 50,000 kilometers, which is 30,000 miles on the odometer. So by all accounts, you would think that it's should be a pretty pristine car, but the exterior just wasn't cared for. So that's what we are here to do, is hit the reset button and then put some protection on it, and the owner can then kind of give it a better life and better care for it through the next 50,000 kilometers of driving than it received through the first 50,000. The one good thing that I'll also mention here is while the surface is generally in pretty rough shape in terms of the condition of the paint, there's not obvious sections of rust or anything that's that significant. So of course got some stone chips like all cars do from being driven and so on, but this is not a case of like a rusted out jalopy. That's the other reason why we think the turnaround is going to be pretty successful with it. So anyways, enough talking about that. We'll get started with the cleanup process, and we'll bring you along for the ride.